What up? It's Ibn Webb, Quran and Sum here, running down one of these official thanks situations once again here. Um, the Essex County All Day Edition, and actually, this brother had the pleasure of just speaking with him, about a week or so ago, prior to jumping on this call here today. Stand up man, boxing, just pretty much from being an actual boxer to now being a boxing official, ref, or what have you here, accolades just endless, from Hall of Fame inductions to just going all over the world where the sport is taking him as well too, to just being, like I said, a stand-up guy. Like I said, Akbar Muhammad. So I'm really looking forward to just talking with him and just learning more about him, what have you. And so we're just gonna hold tight and get to it. Yeah, assalamu alaikum.
Hey, bro, Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes, I
I can't
can.
hear you. Hold on, let me see.
Oh, you got the mute.
Oh, I got you. Look at it. All right.
There you go. There you go. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam tulari wa barakatuh.
How you doing? I'm Ibn. Obviously, I'm talking to another Ibn.
That's right.
Yes, yeah. Definitely great to place a voice and a face together here. I know it's virtually, but it's still all good. It's still
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. As thank you for taking time out. I know when I spoke to you last week, just kind of gave you an overview of what I've been doing here. Just kind of one of those things here in regards to just have an opportunity, one, with family to just to connect with them this whole pandemic thing. It was just one of those things I would just sneak them on and about make up something just to get them on and just share my appreciation for them. But it spilled over, like I said, to other things as far as, whether it's athletics or what have you. Whether, I kind of have one edition that I do of talking about Essex County people just and businesses and entrepreneurs, athletes, whatever from Essex County, because obviously it's near and dear to me, being that's where I'm from here. So, and having the privilege to have you on again, like I said, I'm totally just taken back by not only yourself, but everybody else that's been gracious enough to bless me with their time. And I know how valuable time is, so thank you. Thank you.
No problem. I'm glad to be here. I appreciate it.
Cool. So I'm just gonna jump in. Like I said, I'm mindful of time and respectful of your time here. So just in general, where are you from?
I'm from Newark, New Jersey. I've lived here the majority of my life. I did live other places for a while, but Newark is home, and that's why I reside now.
Okay. How was it for you growing up, as far as just whether family, sports, what have you, just normal childhood, anything like
Actually, with sports, I stay very involved in sports.
Okay.
And other programs. Besides, the PAL, I also was a Boy Scout. Believe it or not, boxing was really my least favorite sport.
Okay.
Baseball was it.
Baseball is your thing. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I went to First Avenue School in Newark, and that's on the north side. And growing up, we felt like on a border. That's why we went to First Avenue. So most of the kids at the school were white. They were Portuguese and Italian, and it wasn't basketball or football. It was baseball.
Baseball, yeah.
St. Francis Xavier League, and that's where that's where I got it at. But during when baseball wasn't in the season, basketball, I always my uncle, he's retired Detective Lawrence Brown. He always had me involved in things at the PAL. So, thank him for that. It probably it kept me out of a lot more trouble that I could have got into. But I just want to thank him for that, and that's how I kind of got introduced to boxing.
Okay.
I really didn't like it, but I did appreciate the fact that it's only you against someone else. You didn't have to defend. You didn't have to depend on anybody else, offense or defense. It was just you and somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's the thing I liked about it, better than baseball and football and the other sports I played. So.
Now, how old were you when you got introduced to boxing?
I was 12 years old.
12. Okay, so middle school, something like that.
So it was the Newark PAL had a gym at the 5th Precinct.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I stopped going there for a while, I went to Hall of Fame, and then from Hall of Fame boxing, that was on Roosevelt Avenue, and then from there went to Red Brick Gym, and that's really wound up. Met a lot of guys there. A lot of people over the years actually. Boxing has taken me around the world. I
Mm.
probably wouldn't have even got a passport. If it
Yeah, yeah.
was boxing, not knowing as a child that you need a passport to travel or go places like that. So it took me a lot of places. Did a lot of good things for me.
So being 12, getting introduced to it, how was your family? Were they, pro boxing, or they was like, stay away from the ring, you're gonna get hurt? Like, how was it early on at that age?
I believe they were supportive because they trusted my uncle.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, bro, he trusted my uncle, and so I don't think anybody was really too worried about me getting hurt or anything like that.
All right, so being 12 again, I know it's a different energy, especially being back then. So even with the condition and everything, you just got to it. Was it anything like you had to just get dragged out of bed, or was it just something you were just so excited to do once you got into it? Because I know you said I know it was your least favorite until you got
Once I
going.
got into it, it was something that I did routinely. It probably kept me in a better shape than any other sports.
Mm-hmm.
Because for boxing, there is no off season. They didn't really have a certain season for it, anything like that. It was just all year round.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it really wasn't hard. I just wanted to stay competitive, especially with the other guys in the gym. And then other guys you may had to compete against. So I didn't really wasn't too much to drag.
Yeah, nah, that's just like amazing just to hear about it as far as just being that young. And I know sometimes some people are even younger, but just solely just take on to your point is you against the other opponent or what have you there. So how everything else, is year round. The training is obviously vigorous here. So we're talking about how did you balance that with that in let's say high school when you was in how did you balance all of that?
It was kind of difficult because I think it became more difficult my senior year in high school because I didn't play I didn't play high school sports, uh, mostly PAL sports, only because the high school I went to, the football team wasn't that good.
What school you went to? Where
I
did you
went to,
go?
I went to, I went to Clifford Scott.
You went to Scott. Okay.
I actually probably supposed I was supposed to go to Barringer Central, but my mother they didn't they wasn't going to send me there. Let's just say
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so I went to Clifford Scott in East Orange, and the basketball team was not that good, and the baseball team was even worse
Mm-hmm.
because baseball wasn't a sport. But it was funny because when I got to the school, um, they had got a new baseball coach, and he knew about me from the St. Francis League, and
Okay.
he tried to get me to play, but I wouldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So I did wind up playing my senior year in high school, um, and I think at the time that was the best record that Clifford Scott had like in 20 years. We went 4-5. We missed one game by winning the season, but
Yeah.
so that year was pretty hard because
Position you play? What position did you
I
play?
played defensive end
Okay. Okay.
and offensive tackle
Okay.
in high school. But it was difficult then because I missed a lot, especially toward the end of the year things. So, but when January came, the Golden Glove started. So
Okay.
it worked out fine. Worked out fine.
Right. So you get going, obviously starting at 12. When is you mentioned obviously the Golden Gloves, but when did the competitively you just started fighting competitively? At what age? You remember?
What that age, 12, 13.
Okay.
It was JO at that time. I was intermediate.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when we started competing. They had the junior Olympic tournaments, junior Golden Gloves, and things like that. Uh, and at that time, it was fights. It was like a fight every week in Jersey, or you can go to New York or Philadelphia, Connecticut. So
Mm-hmm.
it was busy. It was a very busy. So you can, at 12, that was kind of late for me. Sometimes you would meet guys that had, even nowadays, a kid 12 years old got about 70 or 80 bouts.
Mm-hmm.
It was challenging because I think a lot of them had a head start. He started at 8 or 9. And have been in the programs a little longer than me, especially I have to hit my hats off to programs in Washington, D.C.,
Mm-hmm.
Cincinnati, You meet one of those young Texas, California. You meet some of those young guys at 8 or 9 years old or 10 or 12 years old. They got 75 or 80 fights.
Yeah, that's crazy.
They busy. Yeah, that's how it is. Yeah.
Yeah, remember your first fight?
Yeah, I lost it. I lost my first 3 fights, actually,
Yeah, okay.
But then I got more, I think it was scary. Your first actual, fight that's going on your record. And so I lost my first 3, but I ended my I ended my amateur career, 108 and 17. So,
wow. Like I said, just to hear that, and then you stopped fighting amateur. When did you move up to pros?
In 2001, I moved up.
Okay.
I stopped boxing amateur. 2002, I want to say. I had a couple of letdowns. My first bout was canceled.
Okay.
The night of, while I was in the dressing room, they just said the whole card was canceled. So my second bout, same thing happened. Different promoter though. First, they said it was postponed to another date, and then they didn't even give me the courtesy of calling me and telling me it's canceled. I was at work, and somebody like, "Oh no, your fight's canceled." I went, "How?" And they ready to be off a newspaper. So that was the point. Then I actually had my first fight. I did lose it. It was in Long Island. And then when I tried to get a license again, to box again, found out that I had an issue with my left eye. So I had issues trying to get a license. So after that, I didn't really want to. People convinced me not to risk it. And so I just hung it up, even though I had fun fighting all the amateur fights. And when it was time to actually start fighting to make money, that's what happened.
Now, before we even get to the other phase that you want to do with boxing, but the actual boxing yourself, like just the business of that, even like learning it at such a young age, just the whole bit. You talk about the cancellations with bouts and everything, like from the promoters and everything like this. How did that just again make you just feel just the business, learning the business of boxing? You just learned it as you go, or did somebody pull you to the side like this is what it's going to be?
No, I really didn't. I didn't know how it was as a professional, but it just wasn't. I think a lot of the fun's taken out of it.
Yeah.
When you're competing as an amateur, it's fun. You have fun, you do it, and it's sad that something I did for free for so long and enjoyed doing. Once I start getting paid for it, I can't stand it. I didn't like it, and I didn't like where it was going. So it was a lot of things that I didn't like about the pro game. But you learn from it, and so I have a few boxes that I train, so I kind of know which direction I want to go.
Now, I know I'm gonna kind of just go back to Satet, like just your accomplishments are just obviously through the roof here. You just talk even amateur, just like what was it, just Golden Gloves? I just hear that and I just get excited, just like competing and all of that stuff. How was it?
The tournaments are great. You compete. I won the New Jersey Gloves. I think 5-time New Jersey Golden Glove champion. 4-time New Jersey State champion.
Yeah.
A 1-time regional champion. And I've been to the quarterfinalists at the U.S. Championships. That's when it was actually different. Now you can actually go to either the Western qualifier or Eastern qualifier, sign up. And if you win that, you go to the Nationals. The road to the Nationals was very different when I was fighting. You had to win your state. And if you won the state, some states were in a region like, New England. They had to, if you won Connecticut, if you won Rhode Island, you had to fight between Rhode Island, Maine, things like that. But once you won that, you had to go to a region tournament. And our regional tournament normally took place at Lake Placid, New York. And it was Metro, which is New York City, New Jersey, Connecticut, Adirondack, Niagara, and New England. And you won that, then you go to the national. And that was the top 10% of the best boxers in the country.
Yeah.
And that's where you got it from. And so those were tough. I mean, it was guys like Malik Scott from Philadelphia, Jason Estrada from Rhode Island,
Mm-hmm.
Devin Vargas from Ohio, Ricardo Williams from Cincinnati. I mean, I could just name all these guys. I mean, Andre Ward actually was at the last tournament I fought in 2001. He was a 17-year-old kid, and we didn't know him. Most of the older guys because he was so young. But back then they had a tournament called the Under 19 tournament that if you won, you got an automatic bid to the Nationals. And he put on a show, man. He beat some guys, man. He beat a good friend of mine, Eric Kelly, there at 165. But it was tough, man. Nowadays it's a lot easier for guys to be a national champion.
What's the difference?
Well, you don't have to go through all those fights to actually get to the,
Okay.
If I mean, I didn't get to the nationals, man, until Jason Estrada, who fought at my weight class at 201, he moved up to 201 plus. That guy was fast. It was hard to beat that guy. He had the point scoring system down pat. So once he did move up, I was able to go. But some guys wouldn't even get out their region.
Okay.
I mean, it just was that tough, man. It was that competitive and that tough back then.
Then the scoring, even as an amateur, like what are they really looking for?
Well, now it's a lot more of how you score in the pros. But back when I was boxing, it was computer scoring. So you had 5 judges, and you had a keypad. One was red, one was blue. And if you were wearing red and the judges thought you scored a point, 3 of the 5 judges would have to push the button within a second of each other in order for the point to score. So say I scored a point, they all think I did. They pushed the button, but it wasn't within a second of each other. The point didn't count. So it was a scoring system that was kind of flawed. And it came about after Roy Jones was denied the gold medal.
This whole situation. Okay.
So they just came up with another saying that this would be more kind of fair, but it wasn't. But now it's a 10-point must system. It's more of the scoring criteria is a lot is better suited, and it'll get you ready for the pro game.
Yeah, see, I didn't even know that. I mean, obviously, I just knew the end result with Roy Jones in regards to that situation, but they had to do it within a certain amount of time within each other. Wow, that's totally flawed.
Well, back when Roy was coming, it was regular judging, but then once they saw that, they just changed it to this computer scoring, and really, it really takes like the observation away from, you're not actually judging about, you're actually counting punches.
Yes.
And that was the thing that I didn't like about it. Like if a guy hits me with light jabs and I hit him with a right hand and hurt him, they're going to count those six jabs hurt more than what I just did. But now it's a lot different. It's judged based on the judging criteria is a lot different now.
Yeah. Now you mentioned obviously the amateur, then obviously a short stint being a pro, but you don't just say the heck with boxing and do a whole nother career. You stay with it.
Yeah, so, it wasn't an easy transition because I stayed away from boxing for a while because I was kind of disappointed that it didn't work out.
Okay.
But one of my coaches at the time, he convinced me to actually become an official. Because I would go to these, the amateur shows and see like the referees and not making, correct calls or things like that. And he told me, you should think about doing it. So I tried it, and at first I just was a judge. I just was judging.
Okay.
And then after judging for a while, they said, why don't you try to referee? So I did, and I liked it. And so, that's so I do the judging, refereeing, also the timekeeping. So once I learned those aspects, I got well-rounded at all of them.
Now, how do you move up the ranks and as far as officiating? I mean, again, do you just start off locally at a gym? And how does that work?
I started as a level 1 official. When I started, you had to come to like 5 or 6 shows to actually like mock judge
Mm-hmm.
about, and the official in charge or supervisor would actually go over your scores and see if you were, uh, if it was close or anything like that. And if they thought that you were ready, they would actually start assigning you to score bouts, score actual bouts. So you
Okay.
start off at a level one, and level one, level one official, before you can actually elevate to level two, um, you have to be a level one for 2 years, and you have to be come to shows regularly in your LBC, which is local boxing committee, which is New Jersey,
Okay.
uh, and you have to be proficient in timekeeping, clerking, which is doing the weigh-ins and things like that. And if the chief of officials of your LBC feels that you are able or good enough to become a level two, then the next you have to go to a clinic, and once you sit through the clinic for level two, now it's different. You would test right there, but now we have to. You don't test right there. We send the
Mm-hmm.
information to our headquarters in Colorado Springs, and then you're able to take the test online. And if you pass the test, you become a level two, and then you could be, like I said, then you start you're a level two for 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and then if your chief official feels you're ready, you can take a level three, but it's a little different because they only offer level three tests at national tournaments. So you would have to actually go to a national tournament to actually. And most of the time when you go, you're going to referee, judge. You're going to do everything for a week, and then they'll give you a test. Um, to Then you can take the test, and it's just there's no clinic. You just take the test. It's knowledge based,
Okay.
uh, and if you pass that, you become a level three official. And then you have the option while you're there to take a rankings test, and the rankings test is a national ranking test that they use to rank all officials. They evaluate your refereeing, your judging, and also the written test as well. And based on where you fall on it, how you do well on the test, you get a ranking. And most of the times, the top rated officials, those are the ones they invite to the national tournaments where, they take care of your airfare and hotel,
Mm-hmm.
come for a week or a week to 10 days to officiate at a national tournament. Um, but then I took a step further than that. As a level three official, I was actually recommended to become an AIBA official, which is an international boxing official, a one
Mm-hmm.
star,
Mm-hmm.
just like the Olympics and things like that. So I did tests for that in 2017,
Okay.
17, and I did pass that. So I'm also a one star AIBA official as well. So international official, one star international AIBA official as well.
Wow. So that's great. It's just kind of like you took it and ran with it. As far as, obviously, I'm sure there was hurdles or
Oh
whatever the
yeah,
case is, but you took it and ran with it. I mean, like, just to hear all of that, it just sounds like a heck of a process. Just to go through from
I mean,
the rankings to the test to everything else, and it might be a little politics sprinkled in there, but
right, yeah, of course it was politics, but sometimes when you just in your local area, you think you're the best at with
okay,
everything.
right, right,
But when I went to one of the national tournaments and met guys like Marvin and Brett Pravell, and these guys put me to shame. Like I'm like, wow, like and then you start learning and you start uh, fellowshipping with these guys. They
mm-hmm.
lived in DC. I would go to DC, or I will call Jamil Ali. He's a president now of the LBC of Mid Atlantic in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia. I will call him, and him. They would show me. So we would actually keep like close with each other, and learn things, and that's what got me better and got me prepared. Also, I have to give props to Mr. George Silman. He rest in peace. When I became chief of officials in New Jersey, I didn't really know a lot of the paperwork stuff to do.
Okay,
But Mr. Hill, I came down to Philadelphia one show, and he showed me how to do it all in one day. And so I was like, very prepared. Um, but we learn from each other, and now that's what I do now. I mentor officials here in Jersey. Um, I work with them. I was given an opportunity to go to a national tournament, and so that's what I like giving them an opportunity. So I try to rotate between my level twos to see who I think is ready to take the level 3 test,
Okay.
and I try to send them out to a tournament, to get that experience. You know,
Yeah, and like to your point, you mentioned how you thought you was the man, and
yeah.
you ran across some other folks like, oh, I got some things to work on. So yeah, especially for them. So now that exposure for them, I'm sure is priceless.
Yeah, definitely. And I also, I think that the one thing unique about New Jersey is that we have 3 guys, myself, Richie Perez, and Pete Quinones. We're all AIBA. Not only are we nationally ranked, level 3 officials, but we also AIBA officials. So we have 3 in our state, in our LBC. So
Mm-hmm.
we can, we bring a lot of stuff back to them. But when they go, I like to have other people evaluate them to give them some other pointers and feedback like that.
Mm-hmm. Now, does this take up pretty much all your life, your day to day,
Yeah,
or
it takes up a lot of time, and
okay?
I think one thing I haven't really mastered is the life balance.
Okay, okay.
Sometimes my wife is not happy about it, but she supports me. She knows that this is something I love to do and I like doing. So uh, she's understanding, but she's not happy all the time. So the pandemic helped a little bit because there was no boxing anywhere, so I was home.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
So when I got invited to a tournament, she was like, I can't really get mad at you. You've been home, but then we were moving at the same time, so then it became a problem. But the work-life balance, I haven't really mastered that yet, but I have to work on it. I have to work on it.
Now, even with obviously yourself officiating and being able to go international, like what's the difference between even being outside of the country versus officiating here in the U.S.? Is there a difference? I mean, officiating is officiating, but I don't know if there was any difference, if any.
No. Now we actually try to make it so that no matter where you go, it's the same.
Okay.
We use the same scoring system that they use overseas, internationally. That's what we use. We use the keypads to actually, whatever box you think you won, you push the button,
Mm-hmm.
So it's the same scoring, and now it's even open scoring, so you can actually see the results at the end of the day of the tournament. So I like that because it's more transparent.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just trying to make it across the board the same. So if you go anywhere, no matter if you go to New Jersey or national, or you go to, Belarus, it's the same.
Now, I know just even at a lower level officiating, multiple sports here, how are you just your officiating hat probably never comes off. A fight comes on, like do you watch as a fan or you got that official stuff probably never leaves you? How difficult is that just to be a fan? Just to
No,
sit there and watch.
it's very difficult because you are scoring the bout as it goes on, and you know you don't take it off, and it's so funny um, that you say that when the first Wilder and Tyson Fury fight, me and my wife
Mm-hmm.
watched it, and at the end of the fight, I said it's going to be a draw. She was like, I said it's going to be a draw. I said Tyson Fury won the majority of the rounds. The 2 knockdowns might hurt him. The way I did the math, it's going to be a draw. And sure enough, it was a draw. She just looked at me and started laughing. I told you. I told you. I said Tyson Fury really won more rounds, but the knockdowns, cost him, a 10-8 round. So if you
Mm-hmm.
do the math, if some of those rounds were closer, you gave one to Wilder, it's a draw. And sure enough, it came out a draw. So
Yeah.
when watching boxing, you're not a fan anymore. Like you like an official. Most of the time you're just trying to see, who won. You
Yeah,
know,
the wife probably even like sitting down watching them with you no more.
nah, she don't like watching them more. She used to always watch fights with me. Now, nah, I can't get it. I can't get her to watch a fight. She goes
Yeah,
upstairs, man. She leaves me.
yeah. Speaking of that, Tyson Fury, who this third one, what you think?
I think I said Tyson Fury's going to beat him in the second one. I
Hmm.
think he's going to beat him in this one. He's just a better boxer.
Okay.
When all you really basically have is one punch, a right hand, uh, he took it away from him this time. He didn't
Hmm.
get hit with it. You know, boxer's always going to be the puncher. That's what it goes. That's what it's going. But a boxer's always going to be the puncher. If that's all you can do, when a boxer can adapt, change the strategy, and things like that, a puncher's just always just looking for the one punch. And
Hmm.
if you don't never find it, then you're going to be so far behind unless the person makes a mistake. You
Yeah.
know, and it almost happened to the Wilder the fight before that with Luis Ortiz. He was losing the fight. I mean, he was losing the fight,
Hmm.
but the guy got lazy and got hit, and that was it. He was going one punch,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's all Wilder has to do. He has to just catch you with that one punch. But if you're not there, boxer's not gonna get hit with that stuff.
Hmm. Nah, it makes total sense here.
Yeah.
Even with boxing and even in other sports that you play, like what's stuck with you to this day as far as just being involved in sports?
The competitiveness and the camaraderie. You always, no matter whether you play with them or against them, you always had a level of respect for them.
Hmm.
Even when I go to these tournaments now, a lot of guys I box with, now they're coaches or now their kids are fighting.
Okay.
We always have a respect for each other, can sit back and talk about, you know, who beat who back when, and did you ever think that so and so is going to be a superstar and things like that. Um, it's amazing. It's amazing because I remember looking at Floyd as a 17-year-old kid,
Hmm.
not thinking that he was, going to be a bigger star than David Reed, who won a gold medal in that '96 Olympics, and that's what happened. So, but I think now more than I did back then. I like talking about the old stuff. Like
Hmm.
before, after I stepped away from boxing. I didn't like talking about boxing too much, but
Yeah.
now I like talking about it. Even football or basketball or baseball with some guys.
Okay.
Talking about it.
Nah, interesting. And then, what's your thoughts on even like boxers can't put the gloves down? What do you think about these older folks, in their 40s, 50s, I guess, and some continue to box? You're like, what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, I understand it.
Okay.
You have to understand, just like let's like this basketball. I mean, this is something they've been doing all their life.
Right.
From 8 till I don't, to whatever, whatever age they are now. So they don't really know or have anything else. Um, and some guys miss the spotlight, but but the majority just they don't know nothing else. That's all they know is
Hmm.
boxing.
Hmm.
What you have to understand is that, a lot of athletes, especially black athletes, we don't have a plan B.
Yeah.
I remember a coach telling me, if you have a plan B, that means you don't believe in your plan A, then you shouldn't be doing this. You
Hmm.
know, you just you have to work your plan. You don't have no other plan. You just have to work. This is it. We just believed back then that sports was our way out. And I think that hurt us a little bit because I think I could have been a better student. I wasn't dumb, but I
Yes.
just focused the majority of my attention to athletics and not to academics.
Hmm. No, interesting. And you mentioned just being black. I mean, in your line of work here, I mean, has that been a plus or a negative?
I don't think in boxing, I don't think it is as an official, I don't think it's been a real negative at
Okay.
all. The majority of the boxers really come from, they're black or brown,
Mm.
Latin or black. Most of them come from, disadvantaged or poor or low income, households. So, it's a lot of similarities.
Hmm.
I think that there is no, picking for the when selecting officials for tournaments. I don't think it's anything, anything in the racial lines. I mean, everybody, a lot of people get invited, and it's based on your performance, and a lot of it is based on your performance from the last tournament. Everything keep numbers on, to keep numbers on this, your
Yeah.
percentages, the percentage of, your judging, your evaluations and things like that. So you can't, and it's transparent, everybody can see, what you got, so.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any issues that way with USA Boxing. I think it's fair. I think a few times I thought that I have been overlooked or slighted, but when in the reality of it, I've been to so many tournaments. I mean, how could I how can I say oh man, maybe I didn't do as well as someone else, or maybe somebody had a higher percentage or did better than me in that tournament. So that's why I didn't get invited. So.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I've been to tournaments where I weren't invited, but I'm still able, to go and get the work in. I just wanted to get the work in,
Yeah. Nah, definitely. Yeah, just again, like I said, I'm appreciative of your time. Before we go, I just wanted to just have a little bit of fun, if that's all right with you.
Sure, no
with some questions here. So you might look at me crazy when I with the questions, but it's cool though. It's cool. Obviously in New Jersey, when driving in New Jersey, what you taking the Parkway or the Turnpike?
Most of the time the Parkway now.
Okay. Stay away from tickets on Turnpike, I'm sure.
Not really. I just don't. I live in North North, so
okay.
I live by Brentwood Park. I live like closer to Belleville.
Right over there,
so
yeah.
The closest highway to me is the Parkway. And now I used to live in the Weekway section, so I used to jump right on 78.
Right there, yeah.
I had to go somewhere, so it just was convenient. But when I do go to Philly, I jump on the Turnpike.
Okay.
I ain't really, but I do have I'll show you. I do have a gold shield that my sister gave
me. Absolutely.
If I ever jam, I'm pulling it out. Like,
absolutely. I take advantage of the perks. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I keep that. I keep that on me. I keep that.
Absolutely. So, Symphony Hall or NJ Pack?
Symphony Hall don't really have that many shows anymore. NJ Pack. I don't know when the last time you've been up here, but
no, I'm just saying, just in general, whether it was back in the day or even the Pack. So just
I got better memories at Symphony Hall, especially as a kid, going to see New Edition, UTFO.
UTFO, absolutely. Roxanne, absolutely.
But NJ Pack stepped it up. They have and it's getting ready to start in July.
Okay.
They usually have a summer festival every Thursday, free concerts, and it'd be like real. I mean, it'd be like Eric B. and Rakim. It'd be like, and it'd be it's nice. It's really nice. But Symphony Hall hasn't had anything big in a while. I'm hoping to do a boxing show there one day, like Terrace Ballroom. I'm hoping to do something down there one day.
Okay, yeah, because it's still there, and I think obviously it's still there. Just wait for people to use it. Yeah, absolutely.
It's still there, and I'm pretty sure that I would love to do something there. Yep.
So, Bragmans, Coopers, or hobbies?
Ooh, that's a good one. I'll go Bragmans, even though they're closed now, but Bragmans.
Yeah, I just heard they with the pandemic and everything. Yeah.
They shut down, yeah.
And they were just taken over by black owners, right? Yeah. I just heard that.
Bragmans, yeah.
What you get for Bragmans?
I ain't gonna lie though, my favorite though is Cats over in New York. I go to Cats.
Okay, I gotta keep that in mind when I'm in the city.
You gotta go to Cats. You ever been to Cats?
Never been.
Cats is like, ooh. And even during the pandemic, they would, you couldn't eat in, but you could take it out. Mm-hmm. You got to get you a pastrami on raw with
pastrami. I'm a pastrami man too. Yeah.
And also, you got to get you a knish, potato knish.
Okay, never had one. Okay.
Call me when you come. I treat you. We'll go together.
Okay. Sound like a plan. Absolutely. Cats. Okay. Nah, definitely. Sugar Ray or Muhammad Ali?
I love Muhammad Ali. I love him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He was a little out of my era. I caught him at the tail end of his career.
Okay.
But Sugar Ray Leonard, man, he's probably one of my greatest. Sugar Ray Leonard was probably, man, I love him. Sugar Leonard I'm gonna say Sugar Ray Leonard. Muhammad Ali's the best no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Because outside of boxing, he transcended everything.
Mm-hmm.
But Sugar Ray Leonard was, as a boxer coming up watching Sugar Ray, when he lost against Duran the first time, I cried.
Yeah.
I hurt my feelings. But he was my hero.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he never knew. And I was upset because a friend of mine had actually asked me to come help them do the Golden Gloves in DC. And I couldn't make it down there. And then on Facebook, I seen Sugar Ray Leonard was there and they took pictures of Sugar Ray. I was mad. Oh, man. So only chance I was mad. Only chance I could have got to meet Sugar Ray. But, but that's who I like. I like coming up. Yeah.
Now, what does James Lights Out Tony mean to you?
Oh, man. James Lights Out Tony is my man. Yeah. I used to actually spar with him.
Mm-hmm.
He's a close friend of mine. I talk to him once in a while.
Okay.
He has a gym in California now, but he was between there and not Ann Arbor. He moved from Ann Arbor. He was in Ypsilanti. But he's probably one of the best defensive boxers that I ever saw. I used to be in the ring with him. He could be standing right in front of you, leaning on you. You couldn't hit the guy.
Yeah.
So he was probably he was one of the baddest guys around, man. He's a cool dude. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna email you some pictures that me and him used to take back in the day.
Okay.
He's a real good guy. I would talk to him once in a while, but he's gotten busy.
Mm-hmm.
So we stay in touch, through Messenger or text message.
Okay.
But he's real. A lot of times people don't like him. They say he's arrogant, things like that. But he's really a nice guy. A really nice person, man. He can go out his way for people.
Nah, this is one of my fanned out questions. Like, I know you say you missed the opportunity to meet Ray Leonard. Who have you met? Like, as far as a champion? Obviously, you just mentioned James Toney, but who's somebody that just would be surprised that you met?
I can't even. It's a whole list, man.
So you got a list. You got a list. Okay.
Yeah, I got like Evander Holyfield,
okay,
Tyson, Dwight Kwame Muhammad, Saad Muhammad. Oh God, Michael Spinks.
Okay.
Aiden Mustafa Muhammad.
It's a laundry list.
It's a long list.
But that's good enough for me. That's good. That's good. That's good enough for me.
But Evander Holyfield, his son, actually boxed amateur, and was at tournaments. And Evander would come support his son, and I would, his son is pro now. Evan Holyfield. He signed with not Top Rank. He signed with Main Events. He signed Main Events, and he boxed for Main Events. Yeah. But yeah, all the guys, all of them are down to earth, man. They're not standoffish, anything like that. Guys, I was and the amateurs would don't go like I can just start naming names like De La Hoya and Tony Lopez, and I'm gonna tell you a funny story about De La Hoya. Really, this is a real story. He was running when he was an amateur. He was working out, running, jogging in East LA where he lived at, and he got robbed by some guys in the gang. And he came to a tournament. He was telling us about it. The next tournament, he came to us like, yeah, the guys found out who I was, and he came back to my house and they bought me my stuff and said, you can run anywhere you want, and no one's gonna bother you. That's how much. A lot of people. I mean, that guy had a tough coming. I mean, he fought. I mean, in the amateurs, he fought 3 tough fights with Ivan Robinson from Philadelphia. Tough fights, and I don't know if you remember Ivan Robinson. He beat Arturo Gatti twice.
He beat
Arturo Gatti twice, but he fought Ivan Robinson in the man. He was a team. I mean, I don't think that De La Hoya gets the credit that he deserved. He fought some monsters, amateur and pros. You know, he was a tough guy, man. I liked him.
No, it definitely was. Definitely was. It's interesting, even with some of these boxes. You mentioned that. I just saw. It's probably been out for a while, but I happened to see it. This is probably about 2-3 weeks ago. I was watching this story on Iran Barkley, his whole situation,
Oh
and
yeah,
like a
yeah.
lot of boxers sometimes end up, financially like just not set. They mentioned how he was homeless and everything else. It's just crazy sometimes. And again, that just goes with you mentioned the De La Hoya, just kind of, eventually get people in your corner. You start learning the business and what to do. I
Yeah.
mean,
And I
yeah,
feel, and Barkley's a nice guy because he's from New York.
New York, right?
Um, and I don't know if you know that Saquon Barkley is actually his
His
nephew.
nephew, yeah, they mentioned
Yeah.
that. They
Um,
mentioned,
and Iran. He works with a lady that who my LBC president name is Jacqueline Atkins.
mm-hmm.
And he works very close with her, so he comes to a lot of our shows all the time. I got
Okay,
plenty of pictures with him. Also, John Skelly, he's from Connecticut.
mm-hmm.
He's from Hartford, Windsor, Connecticut, and he has amateur boxing reunions, and Iran always comes to him. So he's a nice guy, and it's kind of bothers me, sad that he has a tough time. I work for Apple besides
Mm-hmm.
refereeing, and a guy came in and we were talking. He was like, "Oh, you boxing?" He started talking about Iran Barkley. And
Yeah,
he was like, "Listen, man," he said, "if you ever see him, tell him to come back by my bar." He said, "I owe him some money." I said, "What you mean?" He said, "He used to come in and be like a hostess. People would like want to take pictures with him. He would sit down and talk to people. He would sign autographs, and he just would give Iran Barkley money at the end of the night, $250.
mm-hmm.
He said, "Man, he didn't come back and get the pay the last time." He said, "So if you see him, just tell him to come by." I was like,
Yeah,
"Wow."
yeah,
I was like, "Wow, really?" He's like, "Yeah." He said he didn't mind doing it. He just would come. He liked to talk to people. And
mm-hmm.
he was a tough guy. Only person to beat Tommy Hearns twice.
Yeah, yeah,
He's
yeah. But he knocked him out the ring. Yeah, he knocked him out the ring.
I
Oh,
believe I believe he deserved to be in the Hall of Fame.
mm-hmm.
He was a champion at middleweight, light heavyweight, and super middleweight. And I think a lot of times people look at it
Get
because he
overlooked. Yeah,
overachieved. He overachieved. He was in the era right after Marvin Hagler, middleweight range. So
mm-hmm.
I think that he's overlooked. But I think I mean, what he did in the sport, I think it can't be overlooked.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Take you down memory lane here. North Powell or Red Brick Gym?
Red Brick. I mean, I became champion. I won champions.
That's
I
right.
became champions at Red Brick. So
That's
the
right.
PAL was fun. When they broke up the PAL, it was sad.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because it was a PAL was a lot of fun right there in the first precinct,
Mm-hmm.
right there, right across from the boys club. Man, it was the PAL was live. It was run by Sarge. Like I said, my uncle Larry Brown, May Smith, Detective May Smith, good people, man, who cared about the kids, man. They would take us to Mets games, Yankees games. I mean, well, these when they wasn't winning back then. This was in the 90s. Neither one, so we would get tickets all the time. I mean, we would go to the games. I remember I don't know if you remember this, but they did the Joe Clark movie in Patterson.
Patterson, right? Lean on me, right?
They bust. I guess they needed extras, so they bust a bunch of kids in from different cities.
Oh yeah, it's in the auditorium, all that other stuff.
Yeah, the PAL came. They took us down there, so the PAL was a lot of fun. But Red Brick, I won championships in Red Brick.
That's right. That's right.
Red Brick was a gym that should have never closed. But it was a lot of champions came through there, like Ray Mercer. Teddy Atlas would come up there. He was training people. He was training Grant. Okay. Oh man, it was if you want to sparring, that's the place to come. Everybody wanted to come there, man. It was highly. Even Tommy Parks is one of the best trainers ever. You had Bashir Ali was there training. He's not even, he trains out of the country now. He's not even in the country. He stays in Europe all the time. Red Brick was a tough spot, man. It was a beautiful place. We talk about it all the time. We talk about going to do a reunion for it too.
Mm-hmm.
Never got around to it, but Red Brick was Red Brick. I was a champion. I was a Red Brick champion.
No, absolutely. And back to your box. Speaking of champion boxing, what's the best match you ever fought?
Best match I ever fought. I actually lost though. Um, it was against Clever McKnight, and it was in Utica, New York, in the regionals.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was fasting during the time as a
Okay.
Muslim, but I didn't know about. I was a little younger, so I didn't know that when you travel away from your home 42 kilometers, you could break. You're supposed to break
You
your
break it
fast.
fast,
I
right? Right.
still was fasting, and I had to fight like at 12 o'clock in the afternoon.
Ooh,
But
yeah.
I fought. It was a good fight. He won. But I remember like feeling like, all right, okay. If I wasn't fast, I would have beat him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But that was probably that's the fight I remember the most. It's funny that I can remember all 17 guys I lost to, but some of the guys you beat, even that you knocked out, you can barely remember.
Nah, that's the saying though. You man, remember our losses, the wins. Yeah.
Yeah, the wins. It's hard. Somebody you remember fighting? I'm like vaguely, but I remember a guy. I was at the mall one time. He stopped me. He was like, "You remember we fought it?" I was like, what? I said, "Nah, that's just hard to remember." If I said, "If you ain't beat me, man," I said it's kind of tough for me. I know about the 17 guys, but when you try to go over 100, try to remember.
Mm-hmm.
Even, I remember the date, the time. They can tell you the date. They get,
Yeah, because they lost to
they
you
knew,
and they remember.
right? They knew, right,
Right.
exactly. I'd
Right.
be like,
Right.
nah, bro, And then you go back home and look through all these little pass books and see if you can find it, But it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. How about best match you ever officiated up to this point?
Oh man, there's been so many of those.
It's like
Especially,
one of those like,
it's
yeah, I
hard for
got
me
this one.
to. It's hard for me um, to even say officiate. Like I seen some good. Even like some I referee. Like because when you referee, it's you have to separate yourself from judging. Like don't
Right.
try to judge the fight as you're trying to officiate.
Right.
So I can't even say, man. These guys, man, put on, especially in the finals or semifinals when it gets close, they put on shows, man.
Mm-hmm.
They put on shows. I mean, I had the pleasure of watching. I refereed them once this last tournament, and I watched him, and I was like, man, this kid's only 17 years old. He put on a show, and I just was like, wow. I was just amazed at his skill level at that, and he's not, 17.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so some of them is just so good, you just can't even. And some of
Yeah,
them you
I
watch,
see
you
what you're
be like,
saying.
I hate to be. I'm glad I wasn't refereeing that one. Sometimes I'll be, on the outside, waiting to, waiting in my rotation to see a fight. Be like, man, I'm glad I wasn't judging that one because I would hate for it. Man, I wouldn't know how to, some would be that close and be that tough.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard. It's hard to say.
I
Like
hear
it's
you.
hard,
Nah,
really
I
hard.
hear you. I hear you. I hear you. No, I
So
hear
many
you.
of them, you'd be like, dang. Oh, I mean, just go back and forth and just don't give up. One guy might have lost the first round and he's coming second, and then the third one is just they both going all out. It's just like, man, they put it on the line.
Mm-hmm. So even with that said, boxing or officiating?
I love boxing. Boxing. Boxing was for me.
Okay.
A lot of, believe it or not, a lot of officials never boxed before.
Yeah,
Um,
it's like that in a lot of sports. Yeah.
yeah, so I have that boxing just getting in there, and I think that I had to learn over time. You know, especially when it came to giving 8 counts. Sometimes I would let maybe a fight go a little further than it should.
Mm-hmm.
And so someone like, why? I said, man, if I was fighting, man, give me a chance. You're like, you can't,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can't take that. You might get somebody hurt. So,
Mm-hmm.
as a boxer, you have to kind of transition away from how you would do or what you think you would do,
Mm-hmm.
because you can get someone gets seriously hurt. So you don't want to. I'd rather stop a fight too soon than stop it too late.
Right.
I'd rather, like one time I stopped the fight and the young man was upset, and I said, "Listen, you can just tell everybody that the referee cheated. I stopped the fight too early.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to say you can say I stopped it, but I'd rather stop it than see somebody get,
Yeah.
totally, beat down.
Mm-hmm. Nah, it makes sense. It makes sense. Someone who should have made it.
Who should have made it? Oh man, it's a lot of them, man. It's a lot of them.
Okay.
It kind of makes me kind of emotional about it.
Okay.
It's a lot of guys that should have made it that, their situations
Yeah.
just didn't pan out for them. They should have been champions, world champions, millionaires, but circumstances prevented them, whatever circumstance it was.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't want to name anybody, but
Got you. Cool.
quite a few, man, who I've seen over time, and who I talk to sometime, but it just didn't happen for them that way.
Mm-hmm.
Great amateur careers, just pros, it just didn't work out.
So the best boxer to come out of North.
Best boxer?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, let's see. I mean, right now, the kid who won the silver medal at the Olympics, Shakur Stevenson, with his speed and his moves, I gotta say him.
Okay.
From what I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
But the bet. We gotta say Marvin Hagler.
Yeah. Rest in peace. Yeah.
Marvin Hagler. A lot of people don't. Most people know, but he was from Newark.
Right. Then moved to Boston.
Yeah, in the '60s. Yeah, after the riots. Yeah, but I gotta go to Marvin. But Shakur he's special.
Yeah,
he's special. Like I seen him, and I guess seeing him as an amateur come up, seeing him as a kid, as a JO, is different than someone else looking at him. Because I'm like, I seen him when he was a kid running around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, who's your top 5 boxers of all time?
Top 5 is Muhammad Ali.
Okay.
Sugar Ray Leonard.
Mm-hmm.
Sugar Ray Robinson, even though they said he was the best 140-pounder ever, but there's no tape of that. We only see him as a middleweight.
Okay.
I think he won 77 bouts before he lost his first one. So
that's 3.
I love Saad Muhammad. He was before there was an Arturo Gatti, it was a Saad Muhammad.
Mm-hmm.
And 5th, I'm gonna go with Mike.
Well, Mike, okay.
Mike, go with
solid 5. What are you most proud of?
Most proud of that I recently opened a boxing gym, Undisputed Boxing Club outreach program, a free boxing program. Is in the projects Hyatt Court on Hawkins Street.
Okay.
And I'm helping the community, and I think I'm proud of that because I'm helping others. But to see the outpouring help and people who are proud of me. I get calls all the time, every day, and I'm like, wow. Like, I'm glad, I'm happy what you're doing, man, what you're doing. And we were getting, some small donations. We got some donation for boxing gloves as well. We got a donation from Captain's Corner from a program that Captain Rasheem Peppers, he has, a North police officer. So we're getting notice for things that, in the community. And it's 3 of us. It's me, myself, Joyce Ravello, who's a Newark fireman, also an Olympian. He boxed for the Dominican Republic in 2000. And Najee Anthony Williams, who also a multiple state champion, a national Golden Glove champion. So, that's I'm most proud of. Like, I'm doing something that I love doing, number one, and I'm helping others.
Yeah. Nah, that's solid. That's real solid here. What's last question here? Best part about being Akbar Muhammad?
The best part about being me, I guess, being a father, man. I think now I appreciate it more. I have a 7-year-old.
I'm right with you. I had a 7-year-old, so
I know I have 5 children. My oldest son, I think, from boxing and traveling all the time, I didn't, spend the time that I wanted to with him. I did spend time with him. I think with my daughter, I appreciated a lot. I appreciated it a lot more.
Okay.
And understand a lot more. So I think that's the best part about me, being a father.
Yeah.
I think as Black men, we get a bad rap about fatherhood and being deadbeats and things like that. So I pride myself on being a good father.
Yeah. Nah, good stuff here. And Akbar, like I said, even coming on, like I said, just being blessed to just hear all the stuff that you just talked about that you're doing, just your come up and everything here, like I said. And boxing, how pure of a sport that it is. I mean, sometimes we forget about that, getting caught up in a lot of the stuff that comes on once a week or every other day, the other sports that are just pretty much in your face all the time here. And just how pure boxing is, and it's just a joy it is to watch, especially when both are performing, at their highest, and just, the love of it. And I just think, even with that being said, just the stuff that you've done, like just your culmination, even officiating to where your passport is getting stamped like crazy pre-pandemic and is about to again now here, and just family here. I could just hear it even just talking just now about being a father, and then obviously just talking about your wife here and there while we were talking here, just like your overall joy for life. Like I said, it's something I could take with me, and as far as, like I just mentioned, I have a 7-year-old, I'm married, and everything else as well too. Like I said, this has definitely been a blessing, and I think Allah has blessed you just kind of with the life that you have and the things that you've done and you continue to do here. And you being officially you, just like somehow indirectly here, helped me be officially me here. We're Jersey boys, to the core. And I think it's just one of those things here that's just in us to make sure that we do, not only for ourselves, but for others here. And you're a testament to that. And I just want to say thank you.
No, you're welcome. Anything I could do, man. Anytime. This is good. This is great. Um, I really enjoy reflecting on some of my because I don't think about it a lot of times. Just to
Mm-hmm.
go back and reflect on some of the things that I've done.
Yeah,
It's in boxing and in life.
absolutely.
Just look at it like, wow, it was a ride. It was a good ride.
And it hasn't stopped. So
That's right. That's right. Hasn't stopped.
it hasn't stopped. Well, I wish blessings between you, your family, and everybody, and especially with everything. We ain't out the woods yet with all this stuff. So save health and safety for everybody on your end.
All right, you as
And
well.
and inshallah, like I said, I'll definitely communicate with you here.
Okay, no problem.
Nah, I appreciate it.
All right.
All right,
So,
assalamu alaikum. Assalam. Wow, it's cool, man. Just even a whole different sport, just meeting individuals such as Akbar here. Like I said, I can't be more thankful than what I am now. Just the blessings with everybody, just willing to take some time to just, talk to your boy here. But even with that being said, I'm gonna just slide on this one. I put my hand over my heart. That means I feel you. Yeah.